People always want to know what's a typical case for us as a criminal defense firm. So it's easy enough to understand what we do. We represent clients who are either faced with criminal charges or criminal investigations or sometimes appeals. If they've already been convicted, they hire us to do the appeal. But beyond that, we don't have a typical case. Every set of facts is different. Every person that comes to us is different. Some people are more likely to want to go to trial, fight the whole thing out. We love to do that. And then other people just can't stomach the thought of putting the case in front of a jury. I thought a good way to show what a typical criminal defense case looks like would be to have a couple of examples. This will be sort of a week in review. Really, it's a Thursday and Friday in review. Today's Saturday. So the last couple of days we had cases that led to interesting results. One good, one okay, good for the client that he wanted. But it kind of illuminates what we go through as a criminal defense firm and what our clients go through. So I'll start with the good one. The best one we had, got a client who's charged with assault with intent to murder and some other charges. He and a co-defendant are accused of stabbing a guy after a verbal altercation in a basketball court. And so the co-defendant is being held without bail. Our client was released, but he was held on home confinement, meaning he could never leave the house. So basically in jail at home. He's a high school kid, senior in high school. It's his last year, and he plays sports, and that may be his avenue for higher education. So the prior attorney that they had couldn't get him out, so the client's family hired us, and we actually filed a bail review going to Superior Court asking the judge there to release him or at least amend some of the conditions so that he could play sports, so he could go back to school when school starts back up. We had a full, very extensive hearing a couple of weeks ago. The judge took the case under advisement, didn't make a decision, told us that we had to get some letters from the school, from the sports coaches, and we did so. And then the judge had a further hearing on Thursday, so we went in, and the judge actually not only allowed our petition, he let the client out to go to school, he let the client play sports, he removed the GPS bracelet that had been on the client's ankle for the past 5 or 6 months. So it was a great result, really happy for the client. Doesn't mean the case is over. In fact, the case has sort of just begun. We've got many court dates ahead of us, a lot of discovery to go through, motions to litigate. But a great result, something that, had we just left the status quo, the client would have been on home confinement for the duration of the case. Now, because we decided to take this appeal and fight it, we got a good result. So it's almost always worth just going that extra mile. We thought that the chances weren't that high. I told the client that we'll try, but I really didn't think the chances were all that high, even myself. So sometimes you give it hell and you get what you want. And if you don't try, you're never going to get what you want. So, we're the type of firm that we like to litigate, we like to argue in court, and, because of that, I think we end up with pretty good results a lot of the time. Second case we had that was Friday, so it was actually an associate attorney had gone into Boston and handled this plea, but I had been working on the case up until then, and we reached a negotiation. It was a drug trafficking case. The prosecutor agreed to amend it so that rather than the mandatory minimum time that the client would have seen, we got 2 years rather than 3.5. Probably would have done even more after trial. This was like a subsequent offense. He had already done prison time. And after a lot of negotiations, we reached an agreement. So the client would do 2 years in prison, and the client wanted to do it. He didn't want to litigate a motion to suppress that we had filed. He just wanted to do the time. It was a guarantee. He already had a lot of time served. So it went through. We did the plea yesterday, but come to find out, it was the client's birthday. It was his 50th birthday. So kind of a weird feeling, kind of a bittersweet thing. I mean, we got the client what he wanted, but I can't help but feel kind of bad for him that he got sentenced to state prison on his 50th birthday. So, these are the kind of things that we deal with. Those are 2 example cases that we had this week. Had some other court dates, but those are probably the most interesting things that we did this week. So hopefully this was illuminating. I might keep doing this just to kind of give an idea of what we do week to week, what kind of cases I handle, what kind of situations we run into, and hope you have a great weekend.